talk about video games and making them.
It's it to you.
When a mommy video game and a daddy video game love each other very much. They fuck. I wanna start working on a game again, real bad.
Let me check my notes.
I could show you what I've.
Yeah, let's
Where I'm at
why don't
on
we
my
start
thing.
seeing what Marcus has going on in Unity.
Though it doesn't sound like everyone's interested in that. Anyway, everyone watching? Gonna watch.
Yes, I am watching.
Alright, well, this is the basics of it. There are menus and things, and you can do. I just worked in to finally get the combat system working in a kind of a way. You know, you can select these. These are actually one thing I've been working on is figuring out how the event system in Unity works, which is super convenient. So I can just, instead of having to call a bunch of functions like this clicking, I just have a single function on this well, I can show you. So I have this is all that's on there, the unit select thing. It just says if I click on this unit, you know, on mouse down, I've made a delegate function, which is essentially just a function that can be replaced by other functions, and an event here. And long story short, when I click this, it creates an event, and the event is this on clicked game object event, and so essentially it creates an event with the game object that I clicked on as a argument of the event, and then everything else, like this little display here, and some other things, I then can subscribe to that event to make it so that anything I want to know about that click, I just subscribe to it, and it makes it super easy to make on-demand function calls without actually having to go through the complex, finding where the function is or whatever. I just subscribe to the event and I don't have to worry about it, which is nice and super low overhead.
I don't know what you mean by what do you mean by subscribe to it?
It's literally subscribe to it. So when like one of the things that events have are like a list of subscribers. So when I subscribe to it, actually here's one thing
newsletter.
They're like the parent.
So when this is enabled, I go unit select. That's the script that it's in, which is really nice too, because I don't need to know anything else about it, like what it's attached to. I just need to know the name of the script. And then dot on clicked, which is the name of the event, and I plus add attack. So this is the function that I want to be subscribed to this event. And then you have to do this on disable event so that if it gets disabled, you unsubscribe, or else the memory leaks will happen and there will be a big issue with it.
Okay.
But it makes it super low overhead, so it doesn't always have to be watching. It's a broadcast system, so anytime this select thing is called, it knows its subscribers and will broadcast that message out to all its subscribers. It's a super easy, awesome way of doing stuff like that. Anyway, we got a basic movement system here. This turn order is just in the order of move speed right now, so I can cancel that, end a turn, and see this thing has 2 move speed. That thing has 1 move speed. You can only move 1. But if I move here, I always like the idea, like not enough tactics games let you do this. Like I'm the purple guy right now, I should be able to move here and then keep moving if I want to. I should be able to attack this guy, which I did. He just took 3 damage. Can't attack anymore. and then I should be able to move again.
I agree.
So I wanted that to be in the game, so I built that in from the ground up, or made sure that it was built into the way it works. And that's about it. There's nothing that special. It takes, most of this was me figuring out the best ways to handle these things. Yeah.
So really, what I want to know is like, I guess I want to do a single. I think we should do a single player game, for like, especially if we're moving to Unity. I would be down to work on this, but the thing I would want to work on is like, I don't know, like the overworld map or something like this. You seem to have a handle on this part of it. But Dave and Jeff, how do you feel about doing 3D modeling? Because I was saying originally, I was like, oh well, what if we just do billboarding and 2D sprites and some nice lighting like Octopath or something, so that you guys can stick to two-dimensional art and not have to learn Blender. But Marcus didn't seem like he wanted to have that kind of art style. So how do you feel about learning Blender?
I'll try to learn. I can't guarantee how good I'll be at it.
Can't guarantee success.
I think that, I hope, I don't know, that if this game did get any traction, we would wind up being able to devote more time to it. And then, you'll get better with practice. Obviously, you're both artistic. It's just, you would have to, the amount of time you would need to get good at it right now is prohibitive due to the fact that you have jobs. So I really think all you have to do is I mean, this sounds like all you have to do, but what you would have to do would be to get a couple of good models, just to demonstrate, hey, this is what we're going for.
What about you, Dave? Did you say?
I'm willing to learn a new skill, but yeah.
I'm not gonna like it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna enjoy learning.
I also think it's important for you to be able to, like in Final Fantasy Tactics, attack the ground, which you can't do now, but I set up the work I need to do that. That's what these range tiles are. So that, if you have a effect that, puts fire down on the ground or something, you can, your attack can do that. You don't have to hit something in order to attack it.
Right on.
If we are going to, I would like for us to come up with an idea.
Is Dave quiet to anyone else?
Oh, sorry. I'm looking at Marx's stream,
minute.
so I'm looking away from my microphone.
Go ahead. What were you saying?
I think we should come up with an idea that could be finished in a weekend or a week or something short and manageable that is smaller, and we can actually have a finished project at the end for once.
I have a thing that will be finished by next week, but it's basically done. I tested out with Jeff my speedrunner game, and if you guys, I thought about tricking you into stress testing it for me today. Jeff logged on and made sure the port forwarding worked, but I've never tried having multiple people connected at the same time that weren't just me and Jeff and me again. But yeah.
But what I mean is something in the vein of a Nidhogg or a Samurai Gun, or the idea I thought I came up with, but apparently a bunch of other people did too. The that ninja stealth in the background fight game.
I mean that is what. So I'm calling my project Dungeon Dash, and here I'll demo it for you guys and talk about it a little bit. But it really doesn't. It really is a very simple idea, right? It is just, and the framework is there for it. It is just, you all log on, you're on teams, and you're racing through a procedurally design dungeon to ideally. Originally, the idea was like, you know, there's multiple bosses. There's only one boss you have to beat to win. By beating some of the minor bosses, you get powers that will help you beat the bigger boss. But you can go fight the big boss at any time if you know where he is on the map. But I think it could be as simple as a starting project as whatever we want, really. But I was thinking the first thing I would do is it's just a speed run randomizer race to get a key, open a door, and leave. That's a very simple starting point, at least. I'll show you what I have for that. Let's see here. And actually, should I demo? I guess I'll. Let me. Actually, Jeff, do you still have that thing I sent you the other day? Or did you delete that file?
VSV speedrun 16.
Is that what you have yours? Is that what it's called on yours?
That's what it's called.
Alright, hold on. Let me. I will do this on Discord. Share my screen. Alright. Goofy King's going on about Blender, by the way. Alright, can everybody see my screen?
I see it. Yes, I see it.
Alright. This is an old version, so it's not pretty yet. But except for the fact that we can't, I'm not transferring any information about which way we're
constantly falling.
You would just happen to start in one of the vertical parts of the randomly generated map. So it generates a map randomly, well, from a seed. So that's all we need to tell to the client. And then if Jeff connects, he should also fall from the sky in the same spot that I did. So we both generated the same stuff randomly. Any minute now, Jeff's gonna fall from the sky. Here he comes. I can hear him. I hear him up there.
Oh.
Ah, there he is. He'll always look like he's running this direction because I'm not telling him which way. And it seems to work pretty good. Like there's not much lag. There's no. It turns out a lot of what I thought was like actual lag, like caused by the way I programmed it, was just a limitation of my computer. I spent so many hours trying to fix. Like, oh, I must have to make an array and send the whole array, and I did do that, and it does work that way now. But like, I don't think I ever
If you
actually.
say it's a limitation of your computer, that would mean it's also a limitation of other computers. So you want it to be accessible.
No, well, it's just that when I have two windows open on my computer, it just like on the laptop, it just like literally like doesn't show frames from the other one, or like, and then like speeds it up when. But I mean, here I'll jump 3 times, Jeff, and tell him like, all right, ready, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's like that. I don't think there's any lag going on here. I don't know what will happen if everyone connects. I could send it to all you guys. But it's got like the Zelda, and then the other cool thing about this is, I think I've explained this to everyone at some point, but like all these sections are made from CSV files in Excel, so anyone can and what the random level generation does is it picks a point on the map on a grid, and then it picks there's only one file in there now, but it's a 10 by 2 or a 2 by 10, depending on whether it's a vertical or a horizontal sliver of the level. Set of rooms. You know, you do X's for the walls, and then all the obstacles and stuff you'll do you know, different letters and stuff for. Then in the current version it connects them all by doors, so they're all reachable, and then the only thing you have to be sure of as the level designer when designing a room in Excel is that, you know, a player can make it to all the exits having you know, having no items or anything like that, and then it connects all those rooms, and then makes some random shortcuts between some of them, and then and then the level's basically done. And what was the thing I was getting at towards the beginning of this? So shit, I can't remember what I was going with this now. Anyway, any of us can make these chunks. So it picks you, and then the other thing you have to tell it is where are the exits in this room. So anywhere within the Excel sheet, within each of the parts of the Excel sheet that represent the rooms, you just type in the letters T, L, R, or D for top, left, down, or right to tell it where the exits are, and it will then randomly walk in one of those directions to make the room. So it won't always make. What it ends up doing is picking a few cross sections of your room, and then so your room could end up next to someone else's room and have interesting consequences. If, say, in the room next to yours there's a windmill blowing and a wind effect is blowing on the character there, and you know, you have a bunch of cliffs and spikes in yours, that those two rooms being next to each other could have emergent properties, like emergent challenges from that. I'll close this now, but I'll show you the current version, which is, I did want you guys, regardless of whether we all work on this, to weigh in on the art. So I did this based on what that guy told me in the last Game Jam stream, where he was like, oh, you can give it that pixely look by resizing the surface of the you know, of the
whatever you're projecting on.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, oh, that's awesome, I can steal sprites, because I'll just like pixelate them so much that no one will recognize them, and that's entirely what I've done here. But like, does this look too blocky and ugly? And then also it sort of makes the room like wiggle around as it moves and decides which pixel.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's sort of part of the aesthetic. Right?
I like that. I didn't know if other people would like it. Like if I turn it off, if I go to camera,
I didn't really notice until you said something.
if I get rid of this, you'll see the real way it looks. But it could be, anyway. This could be
Lining the art around a game that does that would be weird.
That's the thing.
Like,
If we did work on this,
also it's going to.
If we
it's
did,
going to be it's going to go through whatever distortion.
yes, it will go through some weird filtration process. And actually, if I had a moving camera, you'd get a better sense of what's underneath it. But since the camera stays still, it's basically locked in one place. Anyway, you know. Eventually we could all work on this. Here's the door. This version has the doors in them, although I can't go through them yet. But they should be linked to one other random area of this map. Like they all have every section has a door. So all these doors would be like randomly.
I like how you zoom out and just looks very natural.
Also the zooming out will be a thing. Like I figure there will be like you won't have a map, but then there'll be like a map and compass, or like a way to what happened here, or like a way to see where other people are on the map, like go into a room and be on cams like in Among Us and be like, oh, this guy's about to go here and fight this boss or get this key, so I should go this way. And maybe you can like close gates or like throw challenges at them. I'm starting to think I might do the whole conversation about Valheim and how it works made me think maybe I'll try doing actual enemy AI for this. But I did think of a very clever way that you could sync up the game without sharing any enemy AI, where something like a bat or an enemy that just moves up and down or left and right, like in Mario, right? All you need them to do is a very simple thing, and they don't need to chase the player or have any AI. In that case, I can do enemies by using something like, for example, sine and cosine, and then tying that to a timer in the room that everything shares. And so the number of game seconds that pass is what determines where any obstacle is. And as long as we're all sharing that same timer, all of our enemies will be in the same place without having to sync them up, and that'll save on a lot of processing power. Either way, I'll probably make some platforms or something that way. But this could be a real neat thing, but honestly, I kind of just want to get it into prototype, into like we can all play it phase, which I really only think would take like a week or two from here. Because all I need to do is put a couple obstacles and a key in a door and an exit door. And then we could literally play this with all 5 of us and figure out what we want to do from it. Do we want it to be cooperative? Do we want to ditch the teams thing? Do we want to, change it into something totally different? It's just a framework for... But I do want this to be my last game. I was like, okay, let me put together all the things I've learned in Game Maker before I move on to Unity and try to make one last good, project. Because I think I've learned most of what I want to learn from Game Maker, and I do want to move on to 3D games, and I want to move on to single player games. And also, when I do multiplayer in Unity, I want to move on to using Photon, and that will be not super easy, but like it will be easier than programming my own netcode from the ground up, and I don't. But I do want to do a multiplayer game where I do all the netcode at least once, so that I have the experience of doing that, and that'll be fun. But yeah, so that's what I've been working on. But we don't have to do that. I do want to move on to Unity, and I want to learn new things together, and like anyone else have any ideas? No other ideas out there? Oh, Dave left. Oh, I left. Whoops,
Yeah,
sorry.
sorry.
I left. I tried to shut my stream and it forced me to leave. Anyway.
But basically a side scroller where if you walk left, time moves backwards, and if you walk right, time moves forwards.
If you walk left, time moves backwards, and if you walk right...
So you're like walking through a timeline, basically. And basically the area where you are has to repeat in order to get that effect. Alright, so you just keep walking to the right, and basically the level or whatever just keeps looping and looping with time passing when you move to the right, and time going backwards when you move to the left. Like you're moving, left and right on a timeline.
That sounds cool. It sounds and doable in a short amount of time.
And then like something like there would be puzzles, right? So like the obvious one would be like you plant a tree, and then when you loop back around because you're walking to the right, it's grown up or a little taller or however.
So is this a
granular.
puzzle game? The game
Yeah, it
type
would
that
mainly-
Dave hates?
The only I don't hate puzzle games. I just don't. I think they're overhyped. But,
I'll work
it'd be
on
puzzle-
whatever you guys want. I'm gonna be splitting my time with the things I'm working on for myself, and then whatever you want to. But whatever everyone else wants to work on, I'll work on.
Well, do we
I
want
would
to do
very
it?
much like to just have something that
Is done-
I want
gets
to finish
done.
something. Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to have
Yeah.
be able to put our name on something and be like, hey, this is a full ass game that we made. It's not a big game, but it's a complete package.
Yeah. Does everyone agree with that?
Yeah.
Goofy King thinks we should make a 2D game. So
Goofy
it's settled.
Goofy King thinks a lot of.
Goofy King is very opinionated.
He
He
is.
really is.
He said first he said make a first-person horror game, and then he said make a 2D game. So I assume he wants us to make some like Doom 1 ass first-person.
I would be into making a game like that.
Yeah, I actually think that would be kind of cool. That is one of the things I did not learn, and my only problem with your game idea, Dave, is I don't want to do like I said, I want this thing that I'm working on to be my game maker magnum opus, sort of like, or like my goodbye, my farewell letter to game maker.
Long song.
Yeah. So like, the only thing is like, either that means do 2D in Unity, which is not what I want to do Unity for, or is there any way we can do your game in a? I guess we could do a 2.5D version of that game in Unity.
It'd be hard to get the concept across as a fully 3D game because
there's three dimensions.
Yeah.
So,
The movement is
forward
so
and backward.
tied to it.
Yeah. Well, I would do a 2.5.
I don't even. That is just literally like the last random idea I had in bed that I wrote down in my phone.
So
I would also like to see. I want to see what those stealth kill games look like because I would even if you can make it different enough, I think that's a neat idea. Also, it is a neat idea, so maybe if those games are good, I'd like to play them.
stealth kill
Talking
games.
about?
Remember the one I said, like the Samurai Gun game? We did it.
Oh, yeah.
I was talking to you about this
I
in
mean,
chat.
I mean, that game was done. It was not done well. They didn't seem to like it very much. I don't remember. I don't know if I even gave you the right, name for the game or anything like that. But they definitely played a game like that on UPF, and they definitely did not love it. But the mechanic in that was like
basically, well, my version, the way I see it is, it's basically a 2D competitive Hitman game. Where you're blending into the background, you could get like different disguises, and you'd have to find the other person and kill them in like a single screen stage.
I think that would be really rad, and I've wanted to do a competitive Hitman for a while, and I
But
don't.
it's not like you're competing for the same hit. It's like you're competing to kill the other person.
Oh yeah. What if we combine that idea with the you all have different goals idea? Although I guess then the hiding is like, why are you hiding? Like, well,
They shouldn't even know you're hiding because basically it's the blending into the busyness of the background and moving slowly.
well, then that could be fine. Then what if it's a game where you have multiple objectives and you're not necessarily trying to kill each other, but you might, and you're
It could
trying
be two different modes too in the same package. Using the same systems. Yeah.
I mean,
That game could definitely be done in a day.
a day. You think it's got
It's just a
multiplayer.
single screen, right? And the things that you can do on that screen, it would just take a lot of asset drawing, but it would all be pixelated in 2D.
I mean, honestly, if you wanted to, we could use the framework for the game I just showed to make something like that if you wanted to have procedurally generated levels in it. Or we could do it without procedurally
also
generated
that
levels.
weird fucking distortion might be good for a game like that. To
I-
help you blend in, and
Yeah.
make it harder. I don't know. It would depend on how.
I think you are miscalculating how long a game like that would take to make, though.
No way, we could do it in a weekend. This is a game that this is like a very game jam idea. Like, you could have a playable thing in a game jam's time span, like a weekend.
So the thing is getting the well, I guess it wouldn't, since it's guns and stuff and shooting.
I don't even think it's good. Well, maybe, but I was assuming you have to get close to this person to kill them without them seeing you. Otherwise, it, you know, like you'd have like a kill.
Give them one bullet like Samurai Gun.
Yeah, but with something with a long cooldown or something, you know, so that you can't just like get into a little tussle, and whoever. And you know, you just don't get out of that tussle. Once you break the tussle with long cooldown attack, then you have to like go back into hiding and wait for the cooldown to come on.
I would be down to work on that, but like I said, I still do think it would take longer than a weekend. That's at least a. I think my instinct to say it's at least a 2 weeks, which means it's at least a month. I think.
All right, one screen, right? An attack button with a cooldown.
What you say when you say one screen, though, you
it.
mean is one very large room that represents whatever.
One room that everyone is in can see everything at all times.
Oh, okay. So this is like local
But you can do a local co-op.
Okay.
Yeah, it could be
It's
both.
very much Samurai Gun, is what it is.
Yeah, it's very Samurai Gun, but with that's how I came up with the idea, like the hiding part of like playing dead.
Yeah.
But the whole game is that.
Yeah, that could be
Like
done.
I said, I'll
in
do
a-
whatever. I will.
I think we're just in the ideas and what do we want to do and what, like, how long do we
The
want the
only thing I
project
care
to be.
about is that it's something that we could actually
finish, yeah.
this time.
I agree. What about Jeff? We haven't gone to Jeff yet. Jeff, do you have any ideas?
No,
I-
we tried
I
it. He said he didn't write
don't
anything
have
down.
any ideas. I had not really been thinking about it.
That's fine. So what's the time frame we want to give ourselves to finish this game? And how long do we want the game to be? I guess is the... Oh, I played fucking Brutus for Goofy King, Jeff, and he loved it. He wants to hear it. He wants to hear more of your songs. Mad
Why would you
Lucas
do that?
Brutus is the best song, says Goofy King.
Cool.
Gone international. This person's definitely lives. Goofy King definitely lives in like Scandinavia somewhere.
I want to do a game that we can finish. I want to give ourselves a month to finish a game, maybe, or 2 weeks. Let's say 2 weeks. Because
3 weeks, 3 weekends.
3 weekends. Okay, fair enough. And then after that, like, Marcus has a framework for Unity, and it's a 3D game, and I want to learn 3D. Like, let's my suggestion would be, let's get a game done and finish it, and then you know, we can move on to the Pokemon strategy.
I mean, I'm gonna keep working on it as I would assume or would hope that as I get closer to it being a playable game. Like right now, this is very me learning Unity and learning how to program in it. But as I build the foundations out, hopefully it will become a game that looks more interesting to develop for, and you guys will eventually jump in. But I'm just gonna keep working on this for my own sake.
I want to work on it for. I want to, like I said, I wouldn't mind doing like you know, overworld map or something to that effect.
I think I've landed pretty firmly on what we talked about having the overworld just turn into the overworld is going to be made of squares that
yeah.
and then
I'd be
it
down
just
with.
turns into the battle arena wherever you encounter someone.
Yeah, so I
Which
do.
should simplify things a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't move in squares like we said. You just get locked to the closest square you're on.
And what do you Well, I was gonna ask about story. Here's another thing, like, why I also like the I want to do a game with a story, and of all the games I've heard so far, like what do you see as like the like? Is there a narrative to your Pokemon game, or like have you thought about the world?
I think you should address the things that don't get addressed in Pokemon like specifically to differentiate it. Like people should
Animal
be
cruelty?
skeptical about what you're doing.
Oh, so you're it is literally, when you say it's Pokemon.
I mean, it could be Pokemon, it could be spirits, whatever you want to call it.
But it is
Digimon.
I know I know you said you're catching them, but they're like it's not like
I haven't thought too much of it other than it should try to go after all the things that people hate about Pokemon.
But there are trainers in this world, and you are playing the trainer for sure. It's not like you're a team of the Pokemon or like anything like that, right?
Yeah, remember. So one of the ideas that we had talked about is remember that the trainer could be almost like a all or nothing. Like they could attack the trainer too.
I get that mechanic, but like I mean, narratively in the world of your game.
Yeah, I would imagine you'd be the trainer.
Are you settled on that 100% that you want like?
Yeah. Otherwise, it's not really Pokemon at that point. It's just a tactics game with monsters, right?
Well, if they level up and progress
evolve.
and evolve, or yeah, that's the Pokemon mechanic.
And I'm not married to anything, but I wanted it to be also in the like an older environment so that you could explain why, not this is obviously shooting for the stars idea, but like if we were to make a second one, it would make sense as to why we're adding new Pokemon. Because the world is not yet discovered, essentially. Like in the modern Pokemon games, it makes no sense that they just keep popping up with these new fucking Pokemon in this world that seems to just magically have new lands in it. Even though the world is very much supposed to have been, people have planes, people have gone to space.
What about it's kind of interesting to me, the point of what if this is animal cruelty, or what if you're the bad guy, right? Like what if you're the
I thought about okay, you should be able to go to gyms, but you should be able to cheat by attacking the trainer, and that will change how people that will essentially maybe kick you out of whatever the Pokemon League is, but you can still go through and fight those people.
Team Rocket will remember this.
Just try to skirt it should be a more open worldy feel to it.
Okay, I'm down for that. That sounds.
But that is again a long way down the list. I mean, ideally, the first thing that you got to nail with it is making a combat system that feels good. So that's what I'm working on.
Where I really would jump on board, if you're looking to really entice me to getting on board, is Dave and Jeff learning Blender, so that we can have our own 3D art and stuff. But B is making an event system that's so easy. I don't really understand what you were explaining with the event system, like how you can recruit objects into it. But I kind of get it. But I'd have to see how it works.
It's just a different way of doing things where normally you'd have to call a function, right? And you'd have to design all these functions around something. You'd have to know from the object that you're I would have to keep going back to the object that I'm clicking on to keep adding things that I need to, I need it to do. Now instead, from the objects that need to be affected by it, I can just subscribe to that click and handle it that way. There's not as much busy work I need to do to get things to react to something. I just say, okay, I know that clicking on this unit is going to do things, and it might do different things in different situations. So I just want this unit, whenever it clicks, to broadcast a message to all the subscribers, and then I'll only have that subscriber react if it matters to it or not. If not, it'll just throw that message out as if it was garbage. And
who is Maximo? Goofy King?
It's event systems. That's one thing I learned about in one of my most recent classes are super efficient ways of communicating.
Yeah, I've seen a million tutorials on them, but like I've never like actually done one. But like basically, where I would find it fun to start designing is if you could make a system where it was just like, I want to create a new move for this character, right? And I want it to be, I want it to affect this area, like this shape of an area or this target. I want it to, do this much damage. I want it to move my character in this way and the other character in this way and the target character in this way. And I want it to do this much damage. So like just a system where we are, could all start designing and testing out moves.
Yeah, I'm trying to design that. That should be. I'm thinking about that as I'm building it. I'm getting there. I mean, all these foundational things are literally the foundations right now. We're not at the point, but I've thought about that. So the units are instantiable objects. Each unit is an instance instead of just a class.
Mm-hmm.
So when you add a unit, it's a new unit. So I made sure that we need to have that step because each unit is going to have its own stats. So when you instantiate it, you need to be able to assign the stats at the time, kind of thing.
But yeah, that definitely is a long-term game. And also narratively, like a short game always has the biggest splash for me when there is some. What's the word for like what's the opposite of ludonarrative dissonance? Like the way mechanics work well with like a short story kind of thing, and that's why the time going backwards and forwards thing is so like is standing out to me as for the short project what I would throw my thumbs up behind. Also, like Dave, do you know what happens at the end of Braid and the mechanics, how the mechanics work with that?
Isn't he like he's like chasing the princess, but the princess was really running from him the whole time?
Yes, and the rewinding time, it's like, oh, he was seeing everything backwards, get it?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that, I think is neat. Like that,
I do like story and gameplay. I really like those being intertwined. Yes.
Do you have any ideas for what that would be in the because like
I only have the concept. I literally just had that thought and wrote it down.
Like I wouldn't mind doing a game that is story first. If anyone has an idea for a story.
I have an idea for a story. Ready?
Once upon a time.
It's the end of the world, right? And like there's all these people trying to get into the bunker, right? And the guards are being like, no, there's not enough room. You don't have your pass, you can't get in, or something like that. And one guy from the crowd kills a guard, takes his spot, and goes in, like just at the last final moment, right? Then he has to face trial, and they find him not guilty because he was like, it was basically self-defense.
That's cool. I would be down to do that.
And then he has to live in this place with everyone knowing that.
As a game, I would do that where like the whole game is the trial.
What was your setup? Sorry, I did not hear that.
So it's like a end of the world scenario, and like there's this group of this crowd around this bunker entrance. And the guards are like guarding it, being like, "No, there's not enough room for everybody. You can't get in. You don't have your pass." And then, like right before the world end event happens, like this one guy comes out of the crowd, kills a guard, and like runs in, taking his place inside the bunker. And then he has to stand trial for killing a dude, but they end up finding him not guilty because they consider it self-defense. He was going to die if he didn't do it.
I feel like everything about that makes sense except for them actually considering it self-defense.
Well, I could
I feel like the real court system would be like, because it would be corrupt. Like that guard had connections. Didn't have a pass for. You didn't have a pass for a reason.
I almost want to say, like, what if we did a 12 Angry Men? Is there a way to make 12 Angry Men into into like
12 Angry Pixels.
into a
That should be our developer name. 12 Angry Pixels.
That's not bad. I think I love the name for any like this is just for anything. I think mostly a band, but I think the porno version is a great name. But so is there? I'm half kidding about this, but is there a way to make 12 Angry Men into like a multiplayer game? Like a
Multiplayer.
Like, is there
I mean, that's sort of what Among Us is.
Sort of.
Yeah, you all judge a person.
Well, what if we... Like, is there a way to do that? Like, what if we made that and the whole thing was the trial? And then literally the game is just... The only playable part of the game is just, like, you and your friends all cast a vote on how to judge this guy.
So you're basically just watching a movie and then voting at the end?
Yep.
You should just make a movie.
You can't vote in a movie, Dave. Unless it's Bandersnatch. And I would argue Bandersnatch is a game.
I haven't played it yet.
Which is nice. It is a Netflix choose your own adventure.
Yeah, I remember when it came out.
Black
People
Mirror
were
thing.
all about it.
I know they got sued for calling it a user-owned adventure.
Really? That's
Oh, really?
copyrighted? Did not
Yeah.
know. Who has
The
it?
thing
Who owns
from
it?
Alice in
Choose your own
Wonderland.
adventure company, I think is what they're called.
Yeah, is there a concept that... Is there a way to make that more interactive?
I mean, if you want to make us, you can always just make it an adventure game. Very-
But who do you play as, though?
the dude, I guess, or his lawyer. His lawyer. There would have to be, to make it interesting though, if it's going to be around the trial, there has to be like surprises and shit. I mean, what surprises can there be on such
Yeah, what
a,
is
like,
the...
yeah. I guess a lot would have to do with they would have to bring up a lot of the past about this guy then, and you spend a lot of time
Or maybe you...
before the world ended.
Or maybe what if it's like something like Obra Dinn, except instead of seeing the deaths of a bunch of pirates, you're seeing the past of the jury members who are voting on the guy and what experiences they've had that lead them to vote the way they have. Or something like that. Something like where...
Yeah. I don't know.
Obra Dinn has been a... Like... I want something that, like I said, I really would not mind doing something that's just a very stylish container for a story, like not unlike Obra Dinn. And I do like that the guy kills the guard, at the end of the world but like what would the
I mean, you could expand the story like to be more interesting. Like there's another story that would need to be told, that could be told out of that scenario, right? After he's gotten off, now he has to live in this small end of the world community with everyone knowing he's a murderer. Self-defense, but you know that there's tension there.
But to me, I love the idea of it just being like just this pitch you gave being the whole thing is like really concise and pointed in a way that I like, especially for a 3-week project.
There's no way we do a story-based game in 3 weeks. We wouldn't even finish the story, writing the story in 3 weeks.
I mean, the story would be probably the thing that took the longest. Like it's literally just, like I said, something like Obra Dinn, where it's.
I would do the story-based game in 3 weeks if we wrote the entire script first before we even touched it or went into the thing.
I would be down for that. And then at least if we don't do it or don't finish it, we have a thing we made anyway. Yeah. Like I'm just looking for a real basic mechanic. Like in Obra Dinn, right? The mechanic is see them at the moment of their death and fill out a whodunit escape room style rubric to figure out who might have.
It's a typing game and you're a court stenographer. You just type the entire script.
Write this game for us.
Well, just write it again for us, because we already wrote it.
Even better.
I don't know. I like this idea. I'm enticed by this idea. I'm trying to put a mechanic to it. A simple.
Well, that's another thing we could think about.
Yeah.
When we come back.
Like I always think of things in terms of mechanics first, and then think of the justification for everything else afterwards. But I would love to do something that's the opposite for once. All right, I'm going to bed. Take it easy, buddy. Stream over in 5, 4, 3, 2.